So you guys have been working together secretly, the blogosphere says, yes?
Yeah. What's it been, 3 months now?
Yeah, probably 3 to 4 months now.
3 or 4 months.
How can you keep a secret like that? I'm very bad at this.
It's been really hard. It's been really, really hard.
Actually, Jessica leaked it to a number of people.
My team knew about it, obviously.
Dennis, when is it coming to the mobile?
We're going to look at the mobiles coming the first of the year. We're going to start to look at what we need to do to get that done.
Awesome. You guys are on track. I'm going to leave you to it. Please read the station ID. I typed it into the chat.
Yeah. So, do you want to go first, Dennis?
Well, what am I? I am something. I don't know what I am. What I am is what I am.
Oh, that's a great song.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Dennis Harper, and I'm from OnLive. I'm the product manager for SL Go, and you're listening to Drax Files Radio with Joe Yardley.
I'm Jessica Lyon, project manager of the Phoenix Firestone project, and you're listening to the Drax Radio Hour with Joe Yardley.
Okay, now together. I'm going to 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
You're listening
to the Drax Files Radio Hour.
You see, the problem is we need a tempo to go with that,
Yeah.
You know what? Skype really sucks. We have spatial voice in Second Life for 10 years, and we're doing this on Skype. This is completely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Hello there and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. My name is Draxter Dupre. I'm here with Joe Yardley as usual. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
And the station ID as performed by Dennis Harper from OnLive and Jessica Lime from Firestorm suggests what, Joe? What does it suggest?
It suggests that Firestorm now works with SL Go.
We didn't start the fire, as Billy Joel once said.
Na, 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 na.
Yeah, see, you're good. You're better. Your singing is better than Dennis, and he used to be a professional musician. That's pretty sad. Anyway, SL Go on the Mac and PC is working. There's an option where you can log in with the official UI or Firestorm, and you can also choose your grid. So OpenSim is also back in the picture, basically.
I'm just very excited that I can finally use Firestorm.
You really use Firestorm that much?
It's the only one I use. I've tried using the official viewer. I wrote a long blog about it, comparing the two, but I just can't handle Second Life on the official viewer. I need all the Firestorm tools.
Well, our listeners know that I'm a company man. I get the directive of what I'm going to talk about on this show from Pete Linden on Monday morning. So, of course, I'm only using the official viewer. What's the advantage of Firestorm?
Ebbe holds a whip and stands behind you while we're recording this.
Ebbe, come on, don't hit the microphone stand.
But I'm free and I can do what I like. So,
I'm free and I can do what I want. God, this is a terrible show. This is our 50th show and we already...
Shut up, be quiet. Listen, maybe it's just me. I need those things that to most other people are just gadgets and little extras that Firestorm offers. There are quite a few things about the Linden Lab viewer that really annoy me, such as lacking the ability to stop groups chat from bothering me while I'm doing other things.
That is actually something that recently, while filming, really annoyed me too. Listeners, please comment on Firestorm versus the official UI. It's an ongoing topic. Let's move on. Today's our 50th show, and I'm sick, but that's really of no matter.
You're cheating, though.
Yes, right. I'm kind of cheating because I did consecutively number the episodes where we were off the air during the summer, and those were reruns.
They don't count, Drax. Come on.
They do. I recorded a fresh intro for those. The show today is about the DMCA, which stands for Digital Millennium Copyright Act. It's a federal law here in the United States that was signed into law in 1998 by then President Bill Clinton. It came out of discussions at the World Intellectual Property Organization in 1996. The WIPO is an agency under the umbrella of the United Nations. Now, let me read real quick from the Wikipedia entry about the DMCA, and then if you haven't gathered it yet, we can contextualize this with Second Life and why we're talking about it today. The DMCA criminalizes production and dissemination of technology, devices, or services intended to circumvent measures that control access to copyrighted works. And the DMCA heightens the penalties for copyright infringement on the internet. So this applies to technologies that facilitate IP thefts as well as stealing, the good old-fashioned sort of individual theft of images and maybe 3D models and textures. And that's where virtual worlds come in. Virtual worlds and games are a haven for creatives and thieves alike. We have guests on the show today to help us put this into context with Second Life, specifically the recent issue with female mesh skin creators, Beleza and Wowmay brands. There were threats and takedown notices filed, and content just disappeared overnight from Marketplace and in-world. Joe, this is the consensus among critics of the DMCA that it's far too easy to abuse this legislation as a tool to force competitors out of business, basically. You can just file bogus claims, and Linden Lab, as the company that hosts the content, has to take it down.
Can't Linden Lab just say, what proof have you got before they do anything? Because, that's what I would do. I'd say, are you claiming DMCA? Okay, what proof have you got? Okay, that makes sense. Let's act, and not let's act and then see what happens.
We'll discuss this later with the guests, and unfortunately, we do not have a lawyer present. I put the word out among the Second Life Bar Association. Nobody came back to me. My wife is an attorney, but she's not specifically well-versed in copyright law, so she didn't want to comment. It's my understanding that the law is written, and that's really the main flaw, is that the platform provider has to act by removing the content first.
It makes no sense. I mean, what if I tomorrow file a DMCA against Coca-Cola because I claim that their logo was somehow designed by my ancestor? They're not going to stop selling Coca-Cola globally right away and then sort it out. They're going to say, prove it.
This is specifically on platforms on the internet and on other interactive platforms where user-created content is being traded. If you were to do that, Coca-Cola would probably 3 minutes later file a counter DMCA and expose you.
Which would be fun.
I don't know if you want to hurt your reputation as a fraudulent DMCA file. That's exactly the core of the issue.
I have a very nice, young, handsome lawyer, but I do not have deep pockets, so that's not going to happen.
Try it. Say you came across a Coca-Cola bottle in Second Life and you want to remove because you designed it in your time travel machine.
If only.
This is what we're going to discuss. And again, we do not have a lawyer. We have a statement from Linden Lab. Pete Linden told me that their position is, as it is stated on the official page, secondlife.com/corporate/dmca.php. So, but before we get to the core of the show, housekeeping notes. You can get in touch with us. We read everything. You can send IMs to the Avatar Drax files. You can send us news scoops. You can send us press releases. You can send us hate mail. On Skype, you can leave a voicemail under Drax Files as well. radio@draxfiles.com is the email address. Our giveaways. Joe, we're finally giving away a Leap Motion today for the folks who commented a few shows back and left questions for David Holtz, the co-founder of Leap, who will come on the show again next year. The winner is a guy named Rob. Rob, if you're listening, congratulations. And if you don't give us your address, I'm going to give the Leap away to a random dude on the street. I don't know who you are, Rob. But Rob, you won. Rob Sine Nomine, which I think is Latin for Rob without a name.
Ah, that's nice.
Yeah?
I like that.
Clever guy.
Yeah, I like that.
Email us. Joe, that brings us, by the way, right away to news item number 1, because Leap Motion apparently is now no longer the darling of Oculus Rift. That combination brought Leap back into the news big time by, you can glue your Leap in front of your Oculus and then you have your hands tracked in a virtual reality experience. But now Oculus purchased a different company which does exactly the same thing, Nimble VR.
Well, they do use a different technology. I didn't quite get all of it because, I'm not that technical, but they use a different technology which is more compatible and comparable to another one that's being used for games, which sort of beams all these invisible lights into the area and then records what's happening or something like that.
We'll have a technical person on next time and explain to us exactly what the difference is.
There is one video on YouTube that compares the two, but there is a lot of people responding to it saying it's not a fair comparison.
Actually, I was going to say there's a side-by-side comparison with Leap and Nimble, and Leap totally loses. The guy is moving his hand and Nimble is tracking the hand absolutely with no leg, and Leap is not even responding sometimes. So
yeah, but there are quite a few people responding to that video saying this is not really a fair way of comparing them, because the Leap is on the table and the left hand is really close to it. It's hovering right above it, while the last time I checked, the instructions said you got to have it a little bit higher and things like that. And it depends on a few things, and you have to remember that this video is also uploaded by the guys of Nimble. I'm not accusing them of anything, but I did ask Palmer Luckey, the inventor of
Palmer Luckey, the founder of Oculus Rift, who is your Facebook pal. And what did he say? Why did they buy Nimble?
Well, I asked him and he said because Nimble has talented developers and good tech.
That hurts. Damn.
Well, I asked him to explain a little bit more, but apparently he's a little bit busy with about a million things, because Leap obviously has talented developers as well.
And we're getting paid for saying that, because Leap Motion is, of course, a sponsor, although they might not be after this show.
Leap has gone a long way and they've been improving all the time.
Yeah.
And a couple of guys responding to that video also said that is this the test version of the first version of the Leap, or have you updated the software, because it's getting better all the time.
All right, speaking about sponsors, again, Nimble, give us a call and we'll talk about you sponsoring us.
You're such a tart, aren't you?
Actually, as a matter of fact, I shot at Tart Gallery in Second Life yesterday. Great gallery.
Yeah, I think it's about different kind of tarts than the tart I had in mind.
Right. Anyway, shop at the stores that advertise with us, please, listeners. Do visit our sponsors. That keeps us going. Of course, you can also take out a voluntary subscription if you love this show, and it's $100 Linden per month. Another thing in the news, and I just want to mention this. The link is on the blog. Apparently, telepresence, a term that I thought was dead. Telepresence is still a thing. An Australian university has a startup going called IC, and what it basically is, it's like a virtual space with little screens, or shared media, as we call it in Second Life, and it displays the head of a person via their webcams, and then people can talk to each other. So you have little flat prims with Google Hangouts, basically, in a really kind of stripped-down virtual space, a la Second Life 2005. And but you have these 20 people in there, and the article says, this is kind of great because we have so many simultaneous people, and telepresence and meetings are possible online. Amazing. Again, I filed this under the category been there, done that, right, Joe?
Well, they've got a few more people than generally fit in a Second Life region at the moment. But wouldn't it be nice if someone combined the two? I mean, imagine having your webcam filming your face and then projecting it on the face of your avatar.
The co-founder of Linden Lab, the other co-founder, the co-god, so to speak, Corey Andreka, leaves Facebook. He was the vice president of mobile gaming.
Yeah.
And he engineered, supposedly, as rumors have it, the deal between Oculus and Facebook, and we all thought he's going to build the new metaverse, the Facebook world, and now he's leaving.
That is very strange. And I'm always a bit suspicious when someone says, I'm leaving because I want to go and work on my own project.
Or be with my family. That's when a politician says that. They're probably caught in a restroom.
To me, that's code for I've got fired.
Well, since I'm his Facebook friend as well, we're going to post the announcement that he made on Facebook. It's interesting. He talks about we're about 1% done with whatever he is imagining, and he also says in that Facebook post, I can imagine a lot. Next news item, as Corey departs, Neil Stevenson, the author of Snow Crash, which inspired, according to Philip Rosedale, Second Life, joins Magic Leap, the company that is also in the head-mounted display goggle business, possibly sunglass business. We've seen their demos where a elephant appears out of nowhere and seahorses float around in midair. They have a proprietary technology that apparently tracks your eye movement and your eye position to kind of simulate where the eye would focus in the actual 3D space. They're claiming that this is a lot more accurate, a lot more real than anything else on the market. So Neil Stephenson is in the game there.
It's mostly some sort of augmented reality where something is projected in front of you. So at the moment, it seems like it's not yet proper virtual reality, and it's going to be fun, but not that interesting.
Yeah, well, we talk about this all the time. I mean, I think this is really going to merge. It's one step having an elephant appear in midair, but then the next step is maybe dressing up real Berlin as if it were the 1920s.
But I don't want that. I want to go immersive time travel into the 1920s, and you can't do that while walking around real life Berlin because you'll get run over by a truck.
Yeah, that's always right. You mentioned that. I always forget that there's going to be real trucks when you cross the street.
Yeah, and even if you can make all those trucks look like 1920s trucks, the guy's going to jump out and swear at me. He's not going to do it in 1920s style, is he?
That's indeed the real downside of augmented reality.
Well, we'll have to see. Maybe the Magic Thingy group is going for full immersion at a later stage, doing something like that as well.
Our blogger friend Inara Pei writes about the Neil Stephenson joining Magic Leap. It's a real fun story how the Magic Leap folks got him in. You got to read this account. She also mentions in the blog post a film festival in Manchester in the UK in July next year, where Magic Leap is set to premiere an immersive experience that shall boggle the mind. I'm paraphrasing what they said. 50 visitors can sort of experience the birth of the universe. Probably the first public display of that technology, and we'll see. You have one news item real quick before we go to the core of the show. There's a petition out there on change.org for Facebook to allow Second Life avatars.
Yeah, it is a bit like, Don Quixote fighting the windmills. But, it can't hurt to try. And in the end, Facebook only cares about one or two things, and that is publicity and numbers. If everyone signs it who uses Second Life, we can get a couple of 100,000 signatures. Maybe at least they look up. Especially shortly after the whole debacle with the cross-dressers. I mean, it's only got the 362 people have signed it so far, so it's probably not going anywhere, but, it can't hurt.
Why not? Now, on to the body of the show. As indicated at the top of the hour, we're going to talk DMCA today, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, a flawed piece. I mean, there is consensus that it's a flawed piece among all actors, I think, including the Electronic Frontier Foundation, a flawed piece of legislation put into law in 1998 here in the United States, way before the business of virtual goods and services started flourishing, and years before any meaningful commerce in Second Life and other worlds occurred.
Well, it was designed for a different world, probably for instance, for someone making a computer game and clearly ripping someone off. Big companies mucking about with each other. Now that everyone's on the internet doing stuff, it has become so much more complicated.
Absolutely, and back then also was sort of the flat internet, if you will. Now we live in the internet. Before we go to our special guests, I want to play an interview I conducted a couple days ago with Fatima Mekaoui, who was a content creator in IMVU, Joe. IMVU, the other virtual world.
I've heard of it.
A couple listeners go like, yeah, IMVU, who cares? IMVU still has 10 million monthly users versus SL, which only has about 1 million, okay? So whatever you may think, IMVU is a place where people congregate and do business. Fatima did business under the brand name Menstruosity in IMVU, and her content got ripped off. She filed a DMCA, which resulted in temporary peace, but her boyfriend who worked in skins in IMVU saw the other side of the coin where folks filed DMCAs against him, like we discussed earlier, bogus DMCAs, and alleged that he stole their stuff and he eventually stopped doing business. Fatima is also in Second Life under the name Imoko Neox, very happy and motivated to create. Here she is with her thoughts on why specifically in virtual worlds the issue of stealing and scamming is so prevalent, possibly more pronounced than on the internet as a whole.
The good thing about virtual reality is it's a fresh start for everybody. The downside of that is you have a lot of people who don't know how to behave. You have people who think that this is just a joke, this is just a game. That's a lot of excuses I hear from thieves, is that this is just a game, what do you care? At the same time, you have people who look at this and say, no, this is virtual reality. This is my full-time income. I got to pay a mortgage. I got to feed my kids. You know, one time I was speaking to True Textures about this. I believe her name is Elizabeth Gallagher. One time we were having a conversation about her files being stolen. She was saying how IMVU looks like it doesn't have as many copyright problems as SL, and I was telling her, no, IMVU has even worse. And she was saying, well, people tell her on the forums, the black market forums where they steal and resell her textures, they told her, well, you know, you make a lot of money. What do you care? She's like, well, I work out of my room. I work out of my bedroom.
Before we get to your specific case, what do you think now? IMVU versus SL. Is it worse? Is it the same in terms of theft and then also in terms of resolution?
As far as the actual DMCA process, in IMVU, it's too easy to file a DMCA complaint and too easy to counter it because you don't have to fax any paperwork. You don't have to physically sign anything. You just fill an email template, forward it back and forth to the email. I have not had, thankfully so far on Second Life, I've not had to deal with the DMCA filing process, but I think last time I checked, it was just fax. I don't remember. As far as IMVU, you used to be able to cash out money instantly so people could siphon money pretty quickly. Whereas now, within the past year or two, they've implemented a 14-day hold on funds before you can cash it out, which is even longer than Second Life. Second Life, I think it only takes me 5 business days to cash out via PayPal.
And people actually want to speed that up, but you're making a good point. It may be a good idea not to allow that to be instant if there is a dispute. I'm just looking it up right now. You have to send a written document to Linden Lab in a physical letter. Wait a minute. Alternatively, fax the document. Counter notification, same thing.
Linden Labs, IMVU Inc., they fall under safe harbor. They are a third party. They are not allowed to get involved with any bias whatsoever, regardless of who the party is and who's right and who's wrong, because they're a third party. They don't want to get sued. To be protected from being sued, they can't get involved. So people may get upset with these companies saying, oh, well, they're the thief. You know, I uploaded my stuff first. Well, according to them, just because you uploaded it first doesn't mean you stole it from them somewhere else. So whenever they get a DMCA notice filed by law, you know, to keep their safe harbor status, they have to remove your content and notify you of, you know, who submitted the DMCA. Okay, so let's say you have somebody filing a DMCA against you. You have the right to know who it is, but they don't have to communicate between you two. They just have to give you the contact info. And I realize because see, a lot of people come to virtual reality to escape their real lives. They don't want to say, oh, I'm this senator so-and-so, or I'm this person's president's daughter. You know, people don't want to say these things.
Oh, I think you know a lot more than I do. Do you hang out with the president's daughters? Are they in the world?
No. I'm just theorizing here.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you don't know who's on virtual reality, okay? Or this celebrity or whatever. So some people might not want to reveal their identities. I mean, these are just the thoughts that crossed my head when Baby Gosen had said that she did not want to continue with this DMCA process with her or his mesh products. I think she's a her, I'm sorry.
The Wome, let's contextualize this, the Wome brand.
The Wome brand, yep. And so, you know, I started to think about it in a real, I mean, for me, I don't care about revealing my real life name versus my virtual reality name, but you know, maybe somebody out there is transgender. Maybe somebody's out there who they might lose their job.
So then it is actually quite easy if you want to intimidate someone, if you want to bully someone and push them out of business, to kind of keep hammering them, and you force someone out of privacy, and if they really value their privacy, they're caught between a rock and a hard place.
Unless they can afford a lawyer.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anybody else recently checked. I'm sure many have. From where I stand here, when I was in IMVU, international intellectual property lawyer, the one that I contacted said about $500 an hour. So what do you do when somebody files a DMCA against you? Or let's say you file a DMCA against somebody who's stealing your work. Well, all they have to do is counter it. All you have to do is counter them. You file a counter DMCA. And when that happens, the ISP or the third party platform, Linden Labs, whatever, they'll go ahead and take down the opposite person's stuff. And then the next step after that is you have to send in a cease and desist letter. And the cease and desist letter that's when you're intending to sue. So that's when you have to start bringing in a lawyer and say, okay, I'm going to start taking these people to court. And then after that, who's got the money for that?
Can you tell me your specific sort of odyssey in that world in IMVU?
My boyfriend was one of the more well-known skin developers on IMVU. So I started helping him out. We started working on some female skins. He was more into male skins. And I was like, hey, let's do girl skins. So out of the blue, we had his skins were stolen often by people close to him and people furthest away from him, people he never heard of before. And it's too easy to steal textures. When you view something in the viewer, or any kind of platform like that, you're downloading the digital content to the cache on your computer. When I mean fairly easy, they just have to find a way to hack into some encrypted folders and pull out all these textures and hand them out.
So that was straight out theft. So that's what happened to your boyfriend. And what happened to you?
Me, I had made a pair of jeans. A lot of my more popular things were jeans and shorts that had the threads on them that, came down the butt and everything, and people loved that. What I started noticing was people not only just flat out stealing the texture and re-uploading it as is, a lot of people started to creatively rework it into their own textures. So you have people who browse all these real world fashion catalogs like Polyvore and all these other things. And they just copy and paste, but then blend in the seams to make it look like it was their own texture. Just like how actually you have a lot of artists, quote unquote, who just grab somebody's body from a magazine and slap their SL face on it and morph it, quote unquote. And voila, you have an artist with some very badass art when really you just took a picture, slapped it on. I mean, and it takes a discerning eye to tell the quality. Like, this is a painting, this is a photo slapped onto it. Well, that's the same thing with textures. These people think they're clever and they're really not. So if it's too good to be true, when you see the Skinnery skin for 300 Linden, you know it's stolen.
Now, you noticed that, and then what did you do? Then you filed a DMCA?
Yes, I did file a DMCA on those people. Not many people have filed back. They just let it go, and they just re-upload another version. Because the DMCA has to specifically state which file has to be taken down. But you can easily re-upload your file as another, I guess in the Second Life you have the UUID. Mm-hmm. So just as long as you have another UUID, it's not a problem. You just re-uploaded it.
How do you know that they actually enforced when you filed this?
The items just disappeared from the catalog. Mm-hmm. So instead of Marketplace in IMVU, we had a catalog. In-world shopping was not a thing like it is in Second Life. You mostly shop from the catalog.
Did people keep stealing?
Well, it's over because I don't do anything there anymore. I only log in to cash out credits and that's it. I would hope that does not become the case in Second Life. But I mean, I just don't even go to the website anymore to interact or create or anything. Now, as far as my boyfriend's skins, he had filed a DMCA and that on 14 skins, and that person counter filed the DMCAs. So basically, my boyfriend's skins were taken down off the catalog because they were counter DMCA'd. And, at that time, my boyfriend was making his primary income was his money on IMVU. At that point, we started investigating, like, okay, how much does a lawyer cost? What are we going to do? We couldn't afford it. It was too expensive. And, okay, so here's the other thing. We're talking about suing somebody in Romania, somebody in Egypt.
You would say essentially, I mean, it stopped him from having a business in IMVU.
Well, yeah, it stopped business. And not just that, you're talking about reputation too. I mean, people start saying, oh, no, they're the thief. No, they're the thief. No, they stole this. They stole this from Second Life. And there's a lot of theft from Second Life into IMVU as well. Actually, some of the people that were filing DMCAs against his skins who stole his skins, they were actually boasting that they were MAC address banned from Second Life.
They found IMVU to continue their crimes.
Not just that, they were all, friends together, and there are websites dedicated to ripping people's stuff. I mean, you can go to IMVU Mafia's Black Market or whatever. That's what it was called. And I saw some postings on there that were saying how, I want this person's skin. This creator refused to make the skin in this color. Can you please rip it for me so I can make my own version? The only way you are going to protect yourself is if you want to go to court, you have 5 years from the time you create your item to register for $30 directly at the Copyright Office in the States. If you're in the States, and you have to upload it directly to the copyright.gov. Actually, that is the website, copyright.gov, $30. You have 5 years from when you make it. I think they can do online filing now too. You have to upload your stuff, and that's how you get real protection. You don't need any of these, fluffy websites to do this stuff for you.
Thank you for mentioning that. This is fabulous that you mentioned that. It's actually, that is really the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, because the copyright, at least in the United States, is pretty darn solid, and you can always go back to that. In closing, I would like to ask you, do you have the silver bullet to solve all this, specifically in virtual worlds now, where there's also the sort of the anonymity, where the anonymity is such a big, important factor?
Well, my boyfriend and I had discussed this multiple times. I mean, before we finally gave up for the time being. For example, the DMCA.com website, they only take down pictures off of websites. Maybe take down a listing on the marketplace, but they don't actually go in world and take down content that's infringing, okay? So they don't really understand virtual reality, first of all. Virtual reality itself is a beast, but I mean, as well as the rest of the internet, there have been lots of information out there about encoding picture, encrypting it, but you have to have an encryption reader to verify, like who is going to go and say, have a scanner and scan this skin and say, okay, yeah, this skin is legit. Oh no, this skin is ripped. The technology is too complex, too convoluted for the simple shopper and the big company who's not benefiting from it from any way. The only person who's getting hurt is the artist. The only person who's getting benefits is the thief. Another example would be like Blizzard, World of Warcraft. I think I'm not an active player, but my boyfriend and his family were. And he was telling me how they have like a little USB.
It's a dongle. I have it for Pro Tools here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That thing. Yep. And it allows you to log in and you can take it with you wherever you go or whatever. Or for example, like with Adobe software, I mean, I have Adobe Creative Cloud. You have to have the legitimate version these days for it to work because Adobe pings your computer every time you log in to make sure you are you.
But we don't want more surveillance. It's tedious, and it also leads to more surveillance, and it also leads to more dependency on individual companies. I mean, it's a real conundrum. It's a real... And
I mean, like another thing is tying, my boyfriend was mentioning to me earlier, like creating IDs and having IP addresses linked to textures when you upload them, kind of like the UUID, but something more specific to your IP. But then what about people who travel?
Now, you said a couple of times during the interview before you gave up, or however you phrased it, and you said SL is a creative outlet for you. I want to know, so you're not in business anymore in Second Life right now, and would you like to open a store again?
Well, I go on there to have fun and experiment. I mean, I have 3ds Max from school, and I teach myself. I'm a type of person who has to always be learning. So I've learned how to do physics for my builds. I've made a building. Right now I just made a necklace, and I'm improving the way I make materials and, banging my head against the computer all the time because of the uploader. It's always giving me bugs or errors. I mean, as a techie kind of person, this is what I do to relax when I come home from work.
That is slightly disturbing. I read paper books.
I can't stop. An artist, you got to keep painting. You got to keep drawing. It's an innate desire to have to keep doing that. But the more I'm in the public eye, the more I'm risking myself getting stolen, and I just don't want to deal with it. But every day I log on and I make something on SL, I tell myself, Fatima, this is going to probably get stolen. So prepare yourself to just deal with it. I know I can make a full-time living off of Second Life, but I don't want to deal with that effort. I'm not a big studio with lawyers ready. I'm just me.
So that was Fatima Mekaoui. Very to the point how she ends this interview. She is alone, and as the law stands today, anyone with deep pockets could potentially bully her out of business in SL, IMVU, any virtual world that has a way to do digital commerce.
We know Linden Lab has a bunch of lawyers who, apparently don't do anything after they messed up the TOS.
You can see that at secondlife.com/corporate/dmca.php, where it actually answers that question. They cannot possibly lend out their lawyers to individuals while they're representing Linden Lab as a digital platform. By the way, it's also called a safe harbor within the legislation. The safe harbor is basically the platform where user-created content is being traded. Now, I want to introduce our guests. We have two guests today. We have Tracy Redangle, who together with Nankwa Urquan runs a business called Nantra. They make poses in Second Life. Hi, Tracy.
Hello.
And also with us today is Kitty O'Toole, who runs the Kitty Witchin blog, which I get my news from all the time when it comes to Second Life fashion. I love fashion.
You don't look it.
I have the same sweater for 7 years. Hi, Kitty.
Hi, everybody.
I'm big on fashion, of course. And Kitty, by the way, also will hopefully, if she doesn't back out after today's show, be our fashion correspondent from 2015 onward with occasional news from that world where I'm so foreign in. As we heard from Fatima, there was an issue with skins, and she mentioned Beleza skins. Kitty, do you want to kind of summarize what happened with Beleza skin? Beleza is a well-known brand in Second Life that makes female skins.
Yeah, Beleza make absolutely beautiful skins in Second Life, and I've worn them for a heck of a long time, actually. It was a bit of a shock for everybody, I think, when we heard the news, and it was pushed out over a press release and over Plurk, and it really hit the internet, and everybody went crazy when they heard that a DMCA had been taken out against Beleza for their Venus mesh body. And I think everybody was pretty incredulous because, this is a very reputable brand. So why would anybody take a DMCA out against them? It just felt wrong.
And that was in December 1st. Tracy, did you hear about that? And what was your response when you heard about that?
I was really surprised because they've been around for years, and they're definitely one of the most established brands in Second Life. And, we knew about some of the other DMCAs against WowMe, and I think it's Luck Inc. with the fat ass.
A brand that makes big behinds?
Oh, yes.
But they're very popular.
You need that, Drax.
I do.
You do. Mm-hmm.
And they were a DMCA was filed against them too?
Right. And, those along with WowMe, because they were fairly new, I think a lot of people assumed that it was a case of just bullying somebody that they knew wouldn't fight back because they are a little bit smaller brands. So, that was my thinking is, okay, well, they'll never go after Slink, which is the other major mesh body part brand, or Beleza, because they're so established, and these companies, they have a lot invested in their business and their brand. So somebody seriously wanted to pursue that.
It was compounded quite a bit, actually, by reports of griefing going on at the Beleza sim crashes, doing the usual kind of shenanigans, which, to be perfectly honest, I've not come across in Second Life for a while now. I didn't know that griefing was still a thing. It just seems a little bit 2007 for my liking. And the fact that somebody had the gall to do this to, as we've said, as a brand as Beleza is just remarkable, that somebody would have the balls to actually do that in Second Life, and also very silly.
So it's either somebody incredibly stupid or naive, or really a concerted effort of someone who knows that they may have big pockets and they can actually bully them out of business.
It doesn't come from naivety. It really feels kind of calculated, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
It's a proper calculated attack by someone who probably has something to gain by them going out of business.
The latest Beleza statement on their blog says this. Now, we're talking about how it all started December 1st. The current announcement reads, I'm going to read it. Last week, and this is from December 9th, Last week, we hired an attorney and worked with him to respond to the DMCA notification. On December 9th, our attorney submitted a DMCA counter notification. This is, as Fatima explained, the process. You have to counter at the platform provider. The DMCA counter notification stated that the material identified above was removed or disabled as a result of a mistake. After submitting the counter notification, then Linden Lab, as the law states, can send Beleza the copy of the original DMCA that was filed against them to review, and Beleza reviewed the DMCA notification, and I'm reading again from the announcement on the blog. They then contacted the person named as the claimant, and the person named in the notification told them that the person had not filed the DMCA. So, in other words, the person who is stated as the claimant says he or she was kind of impersonated, their name had been stolen. So that sounds fishy as well.
Yeah, it's incredibly fishy. It's complete fraudulent activity, isn't it? And it's somebody that's obviously got an axe to grind and has made a very calculated effort to try and cause as much pain to Beleza as possible. I mean, obviously what this is going to do is it means that they can't sell their Venus mesh body in world while this is going on. So they're losing the income from that. But what I really like about this is that they've, because they're a big company now, they're managing to get their attorney involved, and this is going to turn out really, really to be bad karma on the person that raised this against them. And I really would love them to be named and shamed for what they've done, because it's just so malicious and just so unnecessary.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate. We're all very sympathetic here to Beleza. We everybody loves their brand. But how about this? Maybe they did steal something. How do we know, Tracy?
Without definitive proof, there's really no absolutes. I think in this case, it's just a matter of just the good faith of their reputation from SL.
So the fact that they've been in business for a long time, the fact that they have always acted in good faith and have had proper business practices leads us to believe that they have not stolen something here. So it's really reputation based.
But I think that's one of the worst side effects, is that there are people that they will assume that just because it's been filed, they will
assume guilt.
Right. Mm-hmm. That was probably some of the pressure that the creator of Wow Me, I think her SL name's Baby Gosen.
Baby Gosen, yeah.
She stated that she didn't want to give her RL information, and it sounded like she was being harassed.
Because again, we have to stress that when you then enter that kind of battle, Fatima touched on this as well, you have to give up that anonymity, which is so important for, expressing your identity in Second Life. It's such an integral part of the culture.
And with those smaller brands, there has been a huge shadow of doubt that people have cast. Some people have just said, you can't file a DMCA unless it's true.
Yeah.
So they've just assumed that those people are automatically guilty, even though Beleza may have more resources to fight it. It doesn't mean that it's still not going to hurt them.
I just want to add this here on their official statement. It said that their attorney is currently in the process of speaking with Linden Lab regarding how they can proceed to quickly have the Venus body placed back in world for sale.
Well, some people have actually made comments, I don't want to buy this body because they're just going to take it down.
Yeah, I've seen that as well, actually. But I mean, what is Second Life without drama? We all know that it thrives on it. But the fact of the matter is that Tricky Boucher, who's the creator at Beleza, he was out of the country on holiday when this was filed. So immediately that starts alarm bells ringing in my head. That somebody's waited, somebody's been calculating the best way that they can launch an attack on somebody. And the fact that this is turned around and somebody's said denied all knowledge of, look, I've not filed it. It's just ridiculous.
How would they
really
know he was out of the country? That's
exactly, that's the thing.
And disturbing.
Oh God! Now we're in the whole conspiracy.
Exactly,
Oh, yeah.
It is a conspiracy because you would have to know that and time it. It's something's not right here.
Joe, you have told me earlier that there was an entire SIM was copied and stolen of a friend of yours. Let's throw that into the mix because this is broader about copyright violation and the DMCA. What happened in that case?
Well, this is old news. I say that first. It happened in 2011, but it was so shocking that I it pretty much, gave me a heart attack almost. A friend of mine owns one of the loveliest sims in Second Life called Vintage Village. If you haven't visited Vintage Village in Second Life yet, please do. It is really a very nice place. It's like stepping into a child's fantasy novel, sort of mystical, old European city. But he one day woke up to a message saying, someone copied your sim. And he laughed and he visited their place and he found his sim somewhere else. They pretty much copied every single building.
That is
and
crazy.
Put it in another region. It is amazing. Everything, thousands of objects. It's all gone.
But it is again, I mean, to me, this fascinates me because one aspect is the criminal energy that goes into something like this. Why not create your own thing?
Probably because they're crap at creating.
Exactly.
I've had one person visit 1920s Berlin that I know of that tried to copy something, but I banned him on the spot. He was trying to copy my Zeppelin, and it was quite fascinating to watch. He was standing on top of it, and a guy without racing perms suddenly raced an exact same copy of my Zeppelin in my sim, and I was going, what? So and if someone can do that to an entire sim, they can do it to anything really. And Aureolus Oliva, as his name is. He made loads of pictures and wrote about it first, which was there's lots of evidence, and Linden Lab took down the other sim quite quickly, so that was rather nice. But it was quite shocking.
That person was paying $300 a month in tier, and they had somebody else's stolen items on that sim. Wow.
Pretty much. If there are lots of pictures, and if you see the pictures, it was almost exactly the same.
That's
was
a lot of effort.
Building for building. It was really, really strange.
A friend of ours, Joe from 1920s Berlin, Bree, showed me a website called DMCA.com. I'm bringing this back to the DMCA, where you can very, very quickly get everything removed. Poof, like magic. It says right on the website, content stolen, take it off the web, get it removed, and be amazed.
I was looking at that myself earlier on.
I mean, on the one hand, if you're a creator, this is a great way to protect your stuff. And if you're a thief, it's a very easy way to bully the creators. It's $100 here for website protection and takedown notices. I mean, the whole takedown procedure, these guys from DMCA.com, they do for $199. For $199, it's hard to beat.
The thing is, this action against Bellezza, because that's the one we're talking about, Maitreya are about to bring out a mesh body of their own. And I wonder how they're feeling about it. I really hope that they think, stuff all this, we're just going to release it into the market anyway, and not feel that they have to hold back until everything else has settled down. Because, it's a market. We want creators to be able to feel the freedom to put out what they have made and what they've spent hours creating so that we can enjoy it. That's the whole point of Second Life.
That is also why I think Linden Lab has to be a little bit more proactive and can't just keep saying nothing to do with us, because Second Life depends on the commerce. It's so important that people keep creating and building things that if something big like this happens, Linden Lab has to step up and try and fix it. There's
very little Linden Lab can do. If they don't follow this law, they're going to be slapped with hundreds and hundreds and thousands of fees and penalties.
It would open, if they didn't follow it, it would open them up to potential lawsuits from creators. I think I read, and this was a while ago when I read it, remember Stroker Serpentine? I remember reading that he did try to sue Linden Labs when his content was stolen.
In 2007, he was suing Linden Lab. I'm looking this up right now. It was in 2007. A Second Life avatar by the name of Volkov Katino, copying and reselling his sex-gen beds. Here I'm reading from the Wikipedia entry. Through several subpoenas served to Linden Lab, PayPal, and AT&T, Volkov Katino was identified as Robert Leatherwood of Azle, Texas. On September 28th, 2011, Stroker released his sex-gen bed for free. Although there was no mention of a DMCA takedown order, there is no mention in the article of any being filed in this case. Let me just see how that case settled. Court papers allege the defendants knowingly turned a blind eye to copyright and trademark violations within the Second Life service. So that case was about Linden Lab not paying attention to what's going on in their world. I don't see from this article how that lawsuit was settled or what's the status of it. I remember I met Stroker in 2011 at the Second Life Community Convention, where he just briefly said everything is fine between Linden Lab and him. We're going to have to look this up and then post it on the blog, what the status is. But that is essentially kind of what Joe, you are saying, that Linden Lab has some culpability, some liability here if they provide sort of a platform where theft is rampant.
It is very important to Second Life that these sort of things don't, run or go mad. And I do think that they could do a few things about it, because most of the time the DMCA is claimed via the Second Life website as a complaint first. You have to fill in something somewhere. Linden Lab is in between there somewhere, so they can do some things. Of course, they got to follow the law, but they can say, they can make it very clear to people who fill in these forms that, for instance, why don't they say, if you fill in a DMCA and it turns out that you broke the rules and you were wrong, how about if we cancel your account?
See, but here's the thing. How does Linden Lab know definitively that this is a fraudulent takedown notice?
If you file a DMCA and the courts claim or judge that you were in the wrong for doing so, doesn't that mean that you are saying that someone stole something while they didn't?
In that case, it's pretty clear that they will ban your account.
Well, in Bullett's case, how would they prove who filed the DMCA? Because they used a false name. So how would they be able to trace that person?
In the Beleza case, it's true that the person who was being approached says, my name has been stolen. So that's an interesting twist. I think we have to wait and see what happens if that name was really stolen, or if that's, if that's an excuse, sort of like a third grader would say, well, it wasn't me. Yes, I'm on camera, but that's my twin.
The guy who is being accused of this has to prove that it was him or it wasn't him.
Kevin Alderman, a.k.a. Stroker Serpentine, he won this lawsuit against that guy who copybotted his stuff, but I couldn't find any more information about the class action suit that he brought against Linden Lab for being negligent about content within their world. So I'll be looking and I'll be posting this on the blog. Now, Joe's silver bullet in reforming the DMCA, I think, is that it's more stringent and the platform provider could do more, maybe, or there's more liability for the platform owner. How about you, Kitty and Tracy? Do you have any ideas, tips how to reform that? If you could funnel that to Congress somehow. See, this is the other issue because it's a global world. I mean, this really transcends United States law. This is another thing that Fatima said. We're suing people here in Romania and Egypt. It's really hard to actually get them to court if they're not in the same country.
It's not effective, DMCA, as it stands. We know that. I think as Second Life embraces mesh a hell of a lot more now, we're going to see a lot more of these kind of perhaps malicious, or perhaps not necessarily malicious, perhaps genuine DMCAs get filed. And we're going to see this more and more, and it's going to become a monthly, even a weekly occurrence, until the point that perhaps Linden Labs actually have to start doing something about it and take a more proactive approach.
The major flaws with the law itself, because when they file the DMCA, they don't have to provide definitive proof. It's pretty much just taking somebody at their word. Hey, this person stole my stuff. And then the items get taken down. I think if things get taken down, they should have some more substantial proof.
That sounds to me a kind of a sensible way to reform this thing.
The intention of the law, from what I've read, is that it was written to basically protect works from entering into public domain. Mm-hmm. So it was written by corporate attorneys.
Very good point.
You know, it's the opposite of innocent until proven guilty, because when you have a takedown notice, then the burden is on that person to defend themselves.
I want to ask you, when we spoke a couple days ago, you also mentioned, and Kitty, you also mentioned the word, one word that seems to be really tied to Second Life, and the word is drama.
There is a hardcore of avatars that absolutely adore drama and everything associated with it.
How does that tie in with copyright and DMCA and that kind of thing?
Because of the gossip that'll just thrive on all the social networks. You'll see it on SL Universe, you'll see it on Plurk, you'll see it on, every single medium. Exact. Oh, SL Secrets. Yeah, there's one for a start.
Well, even people who may or may, for all we know, that are completely innocent get drawn into the muck. There's finger pointing against, it was this creator that's doing it. They just happened to release their body days after, when there's absolutely no substantial proof. In this particular case with Bellezza, those others, the only way to prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt is if the counter is filed and that person is identified either through their lawyer or through the documents that they counterfile.
Well, let's keep watching the Bellezza blog, bellezza.wordpress.com, I believe. I posted on our blog, and see if they have come to a conclusion with Linden Lab and if their stuff is back in world. Please let us know. I was going to say that I invited Neuramyth. They make male mesh bodies. I invited them as well to talk about this issue. Maybe they come on next time to talk about their experience with the DMCA or with copyright infringement. I want to end this on a light on a light at the end of the tunnel note to remind people that Fatima in the earlier interview said you can always go to copyright.gov and copyright your stuff, and then you have a very simple proof that you're the first one who put that out there. You have to upload files, you have to upload proof and pictures and descriptions and stuff like that. So there is a simple way to protect yourself if you're a musician or a creative person. All right, guys, we're running out of time. I have to wrap it up. As much fun as this is, Joe, how did you enjoy the guests on the show today?
How did I enjoy the guests? Well, I think it was a very interesting chat. Even though, I haven't bought a mesh body or even a new dress in about 3 years.
Kitty and Tracy, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's absolute pleasure. We have to have you guys back.
I would love to come back. Congratulations on the 50th edition.
See, they know what's right to say, Joe.
Yeah, it's cheating. It's cheating.
I'm going to do 49 reruns, and we're up to the 100th show in next week. Oh, by the way, we're taking time off. I have to say this. It's very sad for me to have to announce this, but Joe and I were European, and we believe in the importance of proper vacation and proper work-life balance. Yes. Just say yes, we do. We're taking off until January 16th. January 16th will be the next show. There are plenty of great interviews in the past shows that you can entertain yourself and open your mind with in the meantime. So go back and listen to them. We had so many guests. I mean, I lost track. Now, I'll be working in the meantime on Drax Files episode 25 about a musician from Colorado who has the entire music scene in SL upside down due to his talent. Even Lindens take time out from their daily lives where they hang at the Keller in 1920s Berlin to go to his shows.
Bad news then, isn't it? Because, everyone should just be spending time in 1920s Berlin all the time.
Yes, we know that. Have a fabulous holiday season, dear listeners, and keep showering us with news scoops, Skype voicemail, keep reading the relevant blogs. Mona Eberhard has a great blog post out, and she's always great in RPA and all the others. We didn't get to a lot of news. For example, the Experience Keys release candidate viewer. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you got to read Inara's blog, you got to read Kitty's blog. Read them blogs. Don't read SL Secrets, and don't post anything. Don't post anything on SL Secrets about me. Actually do, because I'm so self-involved. I just want to read about myself all day long. And in closing, Joe, I want to say this.
What?
There's a video out by a hip-hop artist called Kitty. It's not Kitty O'Toole, it's just Kitty, and the video is called Second Life. It's unbelievable. It features a guy who looks like my avatar.
Oh, yeah.
And there is Second Life machinima footage in there for 2 seconds. You gotta watch it. It is so bad that it's kind of good. You know, that kind of thing. I mean, that's my personal opinion. Anyway, that's it. Joe, what are you going to be doing over this holiday season break and then the new year?
Yeah, drinking, smoking, and, enjoying 1920s Berlin with a bit of snow and the holidays and all that sort of thing.
Awesome. That's a good way to end it. This is our 50th anniversary show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting. We're off to a new year. Have a great new year. And goodbye, Joe.
Yeah. Auf Wiedersehen, Merry Christmas, and a happy 1929 to all.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Leap Motion, SL Go By On Live, Stitcher, Ison, Bot Girls Identity Circus, Carvel Design, Vika Creations, Humanoid Animations, Escapades, Botanical, Death Row Designs, Angel Red Couture, Fallen Gods Incorporated, Blue Moon Enterprises, What's Next, Avacon, and Landscapes Unlimited. Contact the show via Skype Drax Files, Avatar Drax Files, or email radio@draxfiles.com.